Reborn, and I won the lottery. In my last life, I was the ultimate fool in love, totally blind, completely wrapped up in my feelings. To Zoe, my so-called best friend, the classic two-faced girl, all sweet smiles and hidden daggers, I was nothing but a clown, someone to make her look better by comparison. When I caught my boyfriend, Joshua, cheating with her in bed, instead of apologizing, he had the audacity to tell me to get out. And like the idiot I was, I left. I let her manipulate me right into a freezer, where I literally froze. By the time they found me, my body was ice cold, and my heart had long stopped beating. But this time? Oh, this time, I'm going to show them what happens when you mess with the wrong woman. I'll play the role of the villain they always painted me as, except this time, I'll do it right. Chapter 1. I woke up on that day, the day I caught them in bed together. But this time, I wasn't in any rush. First things first, I treated myself. Last time around, I had been such a lovesick fool that I practically turned myself into a charity case for my boyfriend. By the time my life ended, I didn't even own a decent outfit. I checked my bank balance on my phone and suddenly remembered today was the day the lottery numbers came out. Clear as day, I recalled that in my last life, I won 50 million. After taxes, I still had 40 million in hand. But what did I do? Like a complete idiot, I handed it all over to my boyfriend. And what did I get for my troubles? He kicked me to the curb. I patted my pocket. Thank God the lottery ticket was still there. With a sly grin, I blew the rest of the money in my account on some trendy, seductive clothes. You know, the kinds of clothes Joshua had always been a sucker for. Then I hit the salon and got fresh, soft French curls, the kind of style that said, "I'm sweet, but I'll ruin you." I stared at myself in the mirror, almost surprised at how good I looked. Well, lucky for me, I still have this face. Joshua always did have a weakness for this kind of thing. I muttered to myself. Just as I was admiring my reflection, my phone buzzed. It was my two-faced friend. "Nina, I can't hang out tonight. I've got something going on." Yeah, I knew exactly what she had going on. I thought about what was going to happen between her and Joshua at the hotel tonight and hung up without saying another word. Right on cue, Joshua texted me. "Nina, something came up at work tonight. I won't be home." Wow, they were really getting ahead of themselves. It wasn't even the afternoon, and they were already sinking their lies. To keep up my lovesick girlfriend act, I sent Joshua a string of needy texts, just like I used to. Of course, he didn't bother replying to any of them. Typical. I glanced up at the building in front of me, the Midnight Hotel. Oh, tonight was going to be fun. I couldn't wait to watch the show. Chapter 2. On my way, I stopped by a street vendor and grabbed a face mask and sunglasses. No need for anyone to recognize me. Then I headed over to the lottery shop. After cashing in my winnings, I couldn't help but feel a surge of satisfaction. I checked my bank account, and it was brimming with cash. I already knew exactly what I was going to do with it. This time, no one was going to know I won. With my fresh windfall, I started making moves. Based on what I remembered from my last life, I invested in a media platform that was about to blow up. I even bought out a small, struggling company in the live streaming space. I knew that in a few years, it was going to be huge, ground zero for the next big thing in tech. By the time I finished setting the stage for my future, it was getting dark. I had been so focused on setting up my empire that I almost forgot about the main event tonight. I snapped a few selfies, carefully edited them, and posted one to my social media. The caption: "Loyalty is the truest form of love." From our college days until now, I had always been there for him, quietly by his side, never causing a fuss. But in his eyes, I was just a supporting character. As expected, it didn't take long for Joshua to like my post. A second later, his message popped up in my inbox. "Thinking of me?" Wow! Just as narcissistic as ever. I smirked and replied in a sweet, innocent voice. Yeah, I miss you. Maybe we could grab lunch tomorrow?" "Oh, but I'm sure you're super busy." I glanced at my reflection in the selfie. Those big, sad eyes were totally over the top. Even I cringed a little. But hey, Joshua ate that up. As I stood in front of the hotel, I felt a slow smile creep across my face. The excitement was building, and I could barely contain it. I pulled out my phone and dialed a number. Hello. Yes, I'd like to report illegal activity. Room 6182 at the Tonight Hotel Prostitution. Chapter 3. Everything was set. I stood by the window of a building across the street, binoculars in hand, ready to enjoy the show I'd orchestrated. I had timed it perfectly. In just 5 minutes, the police would burst into the hotel room. By now, they'd probably be in the middle of things. Too bad for them. Tonight wasn't going to end the way they'd hoped. I adjusted the binoculars, waiting for the moment when Joshua and Zoe's smug faces would be wiped clean with panic. And then, there they were, Joshua and Zoe, handcuffed and dragged into view. It was almost comical. They hadn't even had time to get dressed. Wrapped in hotel towels, Zoe's makeup was a mess, her hair looked like a bird's nest, and Joshua's face was the picture of mortification. I could practically feel his desire to disappear into the floor. For a moment, I regretted not being there in person to witness the chaos up close. I could only imagine the priceless look on their faces when the police barged in and caught them in the act. With a satisfied grin, I lowered the binoculars and touched up my lipstick. I thought to myself, Joshua, you're going to need me now. On the outside, I was calm and collected, but inside, I was reveling in every second of it. Chapter 4. Nina, something's happened. I need you to come to the police station. At this time in my last life, I was still nursing the sting of betrayal, but now, hearing Joshua's shaky, embarrassed voice over the phone made the pain fade away, replaced by the sweet satisfaction of revenge. Keeping my voice soft and sweet, I replied, Joshua, what's wrong? Don't worry, I'll be right there. I glanced at the address he sent me and smiled. Little did he know, I'd already been waiting outside the police station for a while now, fully prepared for this moment. I walked in, smiling to myself, and approached Joshua with the perfect mix of concern and affection. Joshua, you don't have to explain anything. I know you didn't mean for any of this to happen. Let's just go home. He looked at me surprised, maybe even relieved. He thought I was still the same girl who would love him unconditionally, who would forgive him no matter what. Fool! In last life, I had stormed in on him and Zoe, tangled up in bed, and instead of stopping, he had coldly told me, "Get out! And close the door behind you." But this time was different. I'd learned how to play the part of his perfect, forgiving angel, the woman he thought he could never lose. Joshua grabbed my hand, not even glancing back at Zoe, who was still crouched on the floor. I shot her a smug look over my shoulder, mouthing one simple word. Loser! That's when she snapped. She jumped up and lunged at me like a wild animal. I easily sidestepped her, and she crashed into Joshua instead. For a moment, I thought he might comfort her. But to my amusement, he looked at her with pure disgust. Get lost. Don't touch my Nina. I couldn't help but laugh as the police dragged her off once again, defeated. Zoe, you've lost again. Better luck next time. Chapter 5. In the car, I leaned close to Joshua, putting on my best innocent face. Honey, I bought this for our date tomorrow, but I guess I'll just give it to you now. Before I could finish, he grabbed my hand and pulled me into his arms, his voice trembling. Nina, I only love you. You're the only one. I caught a whiff of Zoe's perfume still lingering on him and fought the urge to gag. How disgusting. I pulled back slightly, letting my face crumple into a perfect mask of hurt. I'm not mad, honey. Let's just forget about tonight, okay? But about tomorrow, when you said you'd pick me up after work. I didn't even get to finish my sentence before he cut me off with a desperate kiss, his lips still tainted by hers. I pushed him away gently, putting on my best hurt but forgiving expression, waiting for him to speak. I'll pick you up tomorrow. I promise. Nina, you'll stay with me, won't you? Always? He looked so desperate, clinging to me like I was his last lifeline. I smiled sweetly. Of course. As I drove, I glanced at myself in the rearview mirror, grabbing a tissue to wipe my lips with disgust. That kiss had been revolting. Funny how, back then, the most we'd ever done was hold hands. Now, he was acting like a stray cat, hungry for affection from anyone willing to give it. Pathetic. Still, I had to admit, my performance tonight had probably left quite an impression on him. Chapter 6. I woke up early, reaching over to silence the alarm I'd thoughtfully set the night before. After freshening up, I glanced over at Joshua, still fast asleep. Perfect. Time to play the role of the perfect girlfriend. I headed to the kitchen and made his favorite breakfast sandwiches and a warm cup of red date soy milk. I even left a little note on the table just to complete the picture. Honey, I'm off to work. Don't forget to eat breakfast, okay? Take care of your stomach. With that, I grabbed my things and left for work. When I got to the office, I noticed Zoe hadn't shown up. Not that it mattered to me. I had other things to focus on, like the little chaos I had stirred up at Joshua's company. Last night's performance was too good to waste, so I anonymously sent the photos and videos I'd taken of Joshua's little affair into his company's group chat. Then, I sat back and watched the gossip spread like wildfire. I couldn't help but smile. I didn't regret a single thing I'd done. As for Zoe, I'd leave her alone for now. It wouldn't be smart to let her realize I was behind all of this. Not yet, anyway. With some time on my hands, I focused on planning the next phase of my revenge. I had recently started my own company and I wasn't about to waste time building it up slowly. I'd already recruited a dozen stunning female streamers from online, paying them top dollar to join my team. Why waste time grooming talent when money could buy it instantly? I wasn't in this to play nice. I wanted to drag Joshua and Zoe down and show them what it really felt like to fall from grace. As I looked over the photos of the new streamers, gorgeous, curvy, and perfect for what I had in mind, I couldn't help but smirk. In a few months, the trend of streamers was going to explode online, and I'd ride the wave straight to the top. And once the money started rolling in, I'd lure Joshua and Zoe right into the trap I was building. Slowly but surely, I'd make them pay for what they'd done. Just as I was wrapping up my thoughts, my phone rang. It was Joshua. Nina, someone posted the pictures from last night in the company chat. My boss is furious. He's going to fire me. What should I do? Well, that was faster than I expected. Honey, don't panic, I said, keeping my voice soft and sweet. I just opened a company, and I've been looking for someone to help me run it. Why don't you come to work for me? I trust you. You're the best person for the job. There was a pause on the other end of the line. For a second, I thought he might refuse. But then, I heard Zoe's voice in the background. Nina, it's not what you think, she said, her voice pleading. We were just drunk. Can I come work for you too? We've been friends for so long, please. Some things never change, I thought. No matter what I did, they always found their way back to each other. But maybe this was a blessing in disguise. Keeping them both close would make it easier to destroy them. I took a deep breath, making sure my tone stayed light and friendly. Of course. I'd love to have both of you. Let's just forget the past, okay? I'll come by later to talk. I hung up, knowing full well that with Zoe around, Joshua had already forgotten about picking me up from work. Not that I really cared. I was used to it by now anyway. I headed to the bathroom, splashing some cold water on my face. As I looked at myself in the mirror, memories I'd tried to bury came flooding back, memories of how my life had ended. Back then, I was hopelessly in love with Joshua. And Zoe? I trusted her with everything. We'd been friends for over 10 years, since middle school, in fact. I wasn't much to look at back then. A little chubby, with bad skin that never seemed to clear up. Zoe, on the other hand, was stunning. She was the girl everyone had a crush on, the kind of beauty that made heads turn. Sometimes I'd find little gifts or notes in my locker. At first, I thought they were for me. But soon enough, I realized the boys were just using me as a delivery service to get their gifts to Zoe. Still, I trusted her. She was my best friend. Until everything changed one day in college. I remember it so clearly. I saw Joshua and Zoe standing together at the bottom of the stairs talking. I was about to walk over when Zoe suddenly stumbled, and Joshua caught her, wrapping his arm around her waist like some kind of fairy tale prince. Zoe blushed, and I felt a knot form in my stomach. From that day forward, things were different. Joshua and Zoe grew closer, and somehow, I ended up dating Joshua because of her. They had a huge argument one day. Joshua had found out Zoe was getting too close to another guy. In his anger, he stormed over to me, grabbed my hand and asked, "Do you want to be with me?" I didn't even hesitate. I had loved him for as long as I could remember. But from that moment on, I became his servant. His sidekick. For 4 years, I was nothing more than his doormat. "Nina, grab us 2 coffees. 1 iced, 1 hot. Zoe's on her period." "Nina, did you upset Zoe? She's not talking to me today." "Nina, sit in the back. Zoe and I want to sit together for this class." "Nina, do you ever wonder why you're not as pretty as Zoe? You're lucky I even chose you." "Nina." I tried breaking up with him, but every time I did, I'd write him long, tear-filled letters, begging him to take me back. People on campus called me a simp for him. They posted about me on the school pages, mocking how desperate I was. But I didn't care. I convinced myself that Joshua loved me. After all, he was with me, wasn't he? Looking back, I can't believe how blind I was. But by the time I realized the truth, it was too late. The day my life came to an end, Zoe had come to me, telling me Joshua had a surprise for me in the cold storage room. She said all I had to do was wait inside for 10 minutes, and then he'd come get me. Like a fool, I believed her. She was my best friend, after all. Why wouldn't I trust her? So I waited. 1 minute passed. Then 2. But as the cold started to seep into my bones, I realized something was wrong. By the time they found me, I was already gone forever. The cold water on my face brought me back to the present. I stared at my reflection, no longer the naive girl I once was. I smoothed back my hair and made a silent vow. Joshua and Zoe would pay for what they'd done. I'd make sure of it. Chapter 7. As I suspected, Zoe wasn't at work today. She was off somewhere with Joshua. When I finally saw the 2 of them together, I slipped easily into my well-practiced role, the sweet, innocent girlfriend. With a smile that could melt ice, I strolled over to Joshua, gave him a playful wink, and right in front of Zoe planted a casual kiss on his cheek. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Zoe's expression falter. She tried to keep that fake smile plastered on, but her eyes betrayed her. She was seething. I turned to her, taking her hand like we were still best friends, and opened my mouth to say something. But before I could get a word out, Zoe cocked an eyebrow and gave me the kind of up and down look that screamed, "You don't belong here." Then came the smirk. A slow, calculated one. And just like that, she accidentally missed a step, and down the stairs she went, tumbling dramatically. As she lay there at the bottom, bruised and pitiful, she looked up at Joshua with those big, watery eyes. "Joshua, don't be mad at Nina. She didn't mean to." "Really?" I thought, almost laughing out loud. The classic poor, helpless girl routine? I'll give her credit, she went all in. The bruises on her arms looked pretty real. A little too real, actually. I shivered. She really wasn't holding back, was she? Joshua, of course, fell for it hook, line, and sinker. His face went red with anger as he turned on me, eyes blazing. "Nina! How could you do that? She's your best friend, and you just what kind of person pushes someone down the stairs?" He looked at me like I was dirt, something disgusting. "Oh, for the love of, are you serious right now?" I thought. But I kept my cool. If there's one thing I've learned, it's that you don't beat a drama queen at her own game by playing fair. So, I did the only thing that made sense. I stumbled, accidentally twisting my ankle, and yep, you guessed it, down I went. Of course, I wasn't as committed as Zoe. I made sure to fall carefully, just enough to sell the act but not enough to actually hurt myself. I wasn't about to break a bone for a guy like Joshua. "Honey!" I gasped, clutching my knee, my voice shaking. "I swear, I didn't mean to. I would never hurt Zoe. I was just trying to help. I just wanted to take you both to my company. It's all my fault. I'm so sorry, Zoe." Cue the tears. My eyes welled up perfectly, and I bit my lip just the right amount to look tragically remorseful. I looked up at Joshua, my gaze full of pain and desperation. Honestly, I was impressed with myself. This was some Oscar-level acting, if I do say so. Zoe, on the other hand, was completely thrown. She stared at me wide-eyed, like she didn't even recognize the person in front of her. In her mind, I was still the quiet, lovesick girl who let her walk all over me. The one who would never ever fight back. She wasn't expecting this. For a moment, Joshua just stood there frozen. He glanced between the two of us, both of us sprawled out on the ground, both of us looking up at him, waiting for him to choose. And then, after what felt like an eternity, he made his decision. He went to Zoe. I watched as he helped her up, his arm around her shoulder. They limped off together, and I sat there on the ground, watching them go. My knee throbbed where I'd hit it against the stairs, but the ache in my chest was worse. How had it come to this? After all these years, why wasn't I enough? What did Zoe have that I didn't? Maybe, I thought, long-term love just can't compete with instant chemistry. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't hurt. It stung more than I wanted to admit. But I couldn't let that cloud my judgment. I'd seen their true colors now. It was time to stop being blind. As they disappeared from sight, I realized something. I was alone, but I wasn't weak. I wasn't the same girl they used to know. No, this was different. I had a plan now. And I wasn't going to let them take anything more from me. "Honey!" I called out after them, my voice soft but firm. "I've already uploaded your info to the company system. You're the boss now. You can start managing those streamers tomorrow. I'll be your assistant." Joshua stopped in his tracks. He whispered something to Zoe, then turned and jogged back toward me, leaving her standing there, looking completely lost. Zoe's face fell. She looked like she'd just been slapped. Finally, she was the one left behind. I couldn't resist twisting the knife just a little. As Joshua reached me, I leaned into him, letting him help me up, and threw a glance back at Zoe. "Oh, Joshua," I said sweetly, pretending to be concerned. "What about Zoe? Are you really going to leave her all alone? Forget her." He muttered. "Let's go." I knew exactly why he chose me at that moment. It wasn't love, it was the promise of power and money. But that didn't matter. What mattered was Zoe's face twisted in anger, her eyes blazing with jealousy as she watched us walk away together. For once, I was the one in control. And that felt good. Chapter 8. Over the next few days, I planted people in the company to keep an eye on Tom, in case of any surprises. Meanwhile, I quietly worked on my major projects at my own company. Lily, somehow aware of my plans, started spying on me. I pretended not to notice. One evening, I realized I had forgotten my charger at the office. Returning to the office, I found the lights still on. Did I forget to turn them off? As I was about to enter, I saw a shadow move. I hid in the corner, trying to see who it was. As I suspected, it was Lily. I watched her sneakily open my computer and transfer files. I remembered that in my previous life, I had foolishly set my computer password as Tom's birthday. How convenient. "Fine, Lily, you asked for this." I started recording her actions on my phone. After transferring the files, she stole a bracelet from a colleague's desk and placed it in my drawer. Such a small-minded person. Satisfied with my recording, I left without getting my charger. I knew tomorrow would be interesting. Just as I was about to relax at home, I impulsively checked the surveillance cameras at the streaming company. Damn my curiosity. Tom and Lily were doing unspeakable things on my office chair. I didn't want to watch further, but I recorded the video for future use. The next day, I acted as if nothing had happened, ready to present my project. As I started, Lily interrupted. Couldn't wait, could she? "Boss, this is my project." Why is Nina presenting it as hers? Everyone turned to look at me. This was awkward. My first time being the center of attention. Lily, you started this. Don't blame me for finishing it. I smoothly switched the presentation to last night's recording. I smiled at Lily. Her expression changed from smug to pale to flushed. This is what I discovered yesterday. Please refrain from stealing others' work, thank you. Lily was now the embarrassed one. The boss exploded, ordering her out. But she wasn't done. She placed the bracelet in my bag and shouted, "Hey, where's my bracelet?" Everyone rushed to see, waiting for the drama. Lily triumphantly pulled my bag, showing the bracelet. I sighed at her stupidity. Did she forget about the cameras? Lily, you asked for this. I played the video of her stealing the bracelet. Everyone was stunned. Lily, you're fired. The boss called security to escort her out. Being a schemer requires brains, Lily. Chapter 9. I knew Lily would run to Tom after being fired. So I decided to get ahead of them. I put on a perfect outfit, complete with a fresh, youthful look. My fair skin complemented the white dress, making my legs look longer. The dress cinched at the waist, highlighting my figure. I tied my hair into a high ponytail, giving off a schoolgirl vibe. Admiring myself in the mirror, I added a touch of lip gloss. Pure, innocent, perfect. On my way to Tom, I picked up his favorite coffee. Holding the coffee, I approached Tom with a tearful voice. He seemed surprised, then quickly hid it. Tommy, Lily bullied me at the meeting today. I'm so upset. I bit my lip, tears welling up in my eyes, ready to fall. I knew Tom couldn't resist this act. He gently wiped my tears, comforting me. Don't be sad, my dear. Don't worry about Lily. If you cry, I'll be heartbroken. Seeing his ugly face reminded me of the disgusting things he and Lily did in my office. I restrained my disgust, knowing I had to act well. Hey Emph, you didn't keep your promise of having lunch last time. I don't like you anymore. I'll make it up to you right now, okay? Seeing Lily at the door, I raised my eyebrows, giving her a triumphant smile. She charged in, pulling us apart and slapping me hard. That hurt. She really didn't hold back. She expected me to lose my temper, but I did nothing. I merely glanced at Tom. Suddenly, he stood up, turned around, and slapped Lily twice, making her see stars. This man was truly incomprehensible. One moment he was being affectionate, the next he was violent. An animal that only thinks with his lower half. Eric, make sure to get rid of the chair in my office and replace it with a new one. Chapter 10. In the following days, Lily stayed quiet, seemingly defeated. Tom, meanwhile, was slowly becoming more entangled in my plans. I was carefully orchestrating a larger scheme. One day, I found a box of pregnancy tests in Tom's office drawer. I couldn't help but laugh at the irony. I took a pin and discreetly poked holes in all the condoms. Fate was in my hands now. I also instructed one of the women I had planted in the company to seduce Tom, ensuring Lily would get jealous. I knew Tom well. He couldn't resist women, especially those who threw themselves at him. Lily was a perfect example. Things were falling into place. Tom spent more time at the office, while Lily, having lost her job, relied on him financially. She began to sense something was wrong and confronted him. I watched the drama unfold through the hidden cameras I had installed. Tom's affairs were now out in the open, and Lily was furious. One night, the inevitable happened. Lily, dressed provocatively, approached Tom. He couldn't resist. Perfect. I watched through the camera as they discarded the condoms. This was exactly what I had planned. Chapter 11. After that night, I knew I had to monitor their every move closely. They might try to turn the tables on me. I resigned from my current job to focus entirely on my revenge. My informants told me that the company was making a lot of money, but something seemed off about Tom. He was secretly transferring company funds to an account he had recently opened. I had to find out why. Following him one day, I discovered he and Lily were visiting a hospital, specifically the maternity ward. So, she was pregnant. They were bold, but I had no sympathy for them. They had wronged me in the past, and I would ensure they faced the consequences. I reported Tom's financial misconduct to the police, providing them with evidence and asking them to wait before taking action. The bigger the net, the more fish you catch. Chapter 12. I remembered something Tom had mentioned in our previous life. His father. A gambler and a drunk, his father had been abusive, forcing Tom and his mother to leave him when Tom went to college. I hired a private investigator to find Tom's father. 3 days later, they found him in a dilapidated village. Owing a large debt, he had been hiding out. When they found him, he was wearing tattered clothes. I brought him to the city, explaining that I was Tom's boss and wanted to surprise my employees by inviting their families to the office. I even rented him an apartment. That ungrateful boy left me and his mother. I'll show him what happens when you abandon your old man. His father ranted. Calm down, sir. I replied gently. Hey, I'm just a rough old man. By the way, how much money does my son make? I knew he was motivated by money. Tom is our best employee, earning over $1 million a year. His eyes lit up with greed. Don't tell Tom I brought you here. This is a secret surprise for our employees. If you tell him, there won't be any bonus. I warned. He agreed eagerly, his mind on the money. Now, I just had to wait for the right moment. Chapter 13. You ungrateful brat. I raised you, and you forget about me? Give me money, or I'll sell you to the loan sharks. His father screamed. Who told you where I was? I don't care if you live or die. You won't get a cent from me. Tom shouted back. Fine, we'll see how tough you are. His father threatened. I watched the scene unfold on my phone, savoring every moment. Tom's father wielded a metal rod, chasing Tom around the office while Tom yelled for help. None of the employees dared to intervene. Then Lily arrived. Who the hell are you, old man? Security! Get this lunatic out of here! She screamed. You think this is your company? You must be my son's wife. I'll beat you too! Tom's father shouted, raising the rod. Lily's face turned pale. She started hitting Tom in frustration. Suddenly, blood started to trickle down her leg, pooling on the floor. My baby, my baby! She screamed, collapsing. The employees called an ambulance, and Tom's father fled, stealing Tom's wallet in the process. I rushed to the hospital. Despite my feelings, the baby was innocent. When I arrived, Lily was pale and Tom looked distraught. The baby was gone. As I approached to offer comfort, Lily grabbed a glass and hurled it at my head. Smash! The glass shattered, and I felt blood trickle down my forehead. Lily, you haven't changed at all. I said, walking out of the hospital without looking back. I quickly bandaged my wound and called the police. Officer Smith? It's time. Chapter 14. Scandal at a list streaming company. CEO's affair with employee leads to pregnancy and miscarriage. Company funds embezzled by CEO, investigation underway. Caught on camera, CEO and employee in office triced. Overnight, Tom and Lily became infamous, and my company gained unexpected publicity. Our streamer's viewership skyrocketed and offers from other influencers poured in. Tom, penniless and desperate, tried to flee with the $50,000 he had managed to embezzle, only to find the account empty. He came to me, begging for forgiveness. Nina, I made a mistake. Please, forgive me. Let's go back to how things were. I looked at the pathetic man before me, disgusted. I wish you and Lily a miserable life. Get lost and never show your face again. Chapter 15. Years later, my company became a renowned success. I heard that Lily ended up as a mistress to an older man, unable to have children, using her ill-gotten gains to maintain her looks. I saw her once, her figure almost unrecognizable, her face marred by excessive plastic surgery. In my past life, You left me to die in a cold storage, with no one to save me. In this life, you trapped yourself in a web of greed and deceit. We're even now.